Hello, I'm Dawn Durham, and welcome to PaTTAN Pod. PaTTAN Pod and the entire PaTTAN system remains dedicated to offering professional development for educators and support for families and students. Today, we're excited to highlight school psychologists and the unique roles these individuals play in creating a strong, healthy environment for our schools and our larger communities. Joining us is Dr. Drew Hunter and Dr. Hillary Mangus, two educational consultants from the PaTTAN School Psychology Initiative. Welcome both to PaTTAN Pod.
Thanks for having us, Dawn.
Great to
Drew,
be
I
here.
want to start out with you, Drew, and help me and understand, when we hear school psychologist, I think the first thing that comes to our mind is testing, right? That's kind of the first go-to answer people think about when they hear that role. But help us all in understanding, what is a school psychologist?
Yeah, so school psychologist, while I think often associated with traditional assessment for special education eligibility, they're uniquely qualified members of your school that can support students' abilities to learn and teachers' ability to teach. So they can do a lot more than just administer assessments and evaluate kids for eligibility. So they apply expertise in mental health, learning, and behavior with the goal of helping children and youth succeed academically, socially, and behaviorally, as well as emotionally. They can partner with families, teachers, and school administrators and other professionals. And the goal really is to create safe, healthy, and supportive learning environments that strengthen connections between homeschool and the community.
So what I'm hearing is that when we think about school psychologists, it's not just academics, it's learning, it's behavior, it's the mental health, and it's really building these partnerships that create a healthy environment, academically healthy, behaviorally healthy, and mentally healthy. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So when we think about this, we're really thinking that they're trained to do a lot more to support families, students, and teachers than typically what they're associated with. So they can provide direct support and intervention to students. They can provide consultation with teachers, families, and other school-based professionals like counselors, school social workers. They can work to improve supportive and preventative strategies, work with school administrators to implement school-wide practices and policies, and collaborate with community providers and coordinate needed services between communities and schools as well. So I guess to kind of sum it up, they really overarching goal of what school psychologists can do is to improve academic achievement for all students, promote positive behavior and mental health, support diverse learners, create those safe, positive school climates, strengthen family-school partnerships, and help to improve and implement school-wide assessment and progress monitoring practices.
Drew, there was a word there that you said that I kind of hung right onto, is that preventative. Sometimes we think of certain roles in the educational setting that is more reactionary, kind of following through with something. But really what you're saying is school psychologists are in a unique position to prevent academic struggles, to prevent behavioral struggles, to prevent mental health concerns. And so I think that's something that we really need to kind of hone in on, that these are individuals who can assist in creating a healthy environment before there's a problem that arises. Is that true?
Yeah, and that can be done in a number of ways via participating with school-based problem-solving teams, working with district and administrator personnel to kind of implement multi-tiered systems of support, just helping people understand child development emotionally and socially, and just implementing a range of kind of preventative and responsive services to help build skills prior to the point where we're at a problem and we're looking at like an eligibility determination or a change of placement or something like that.
So school psychologists really have such a broad role, right? They have a lot of hats that they wear. And I think it's important that we spend some time highlighting what those hats are. And Hillary, if I could just kind of engage you here, when we think about the kind of settings that school psychologists work in, talk to me a little bit about what those settings are.
So Dawn, you really hit the nail on the head with the broad training and scope and sequence of skill sets that school psychologists have. And because of that, they're really well poised to work in many different employment settings. So school psychologists will work in public, private, and charter schools. They can work in preschools and other early childhood settings. They can serve as school district administrators. They also can work as college and university professors and staff. In addition, school psychologists also can work in school-based health and mental health centers, state mental health agencies, community-based day treatment centers or residential treatment clinics, hospitals, juvenile justice programs, independent practice, and then, of course, as educational consultants.
So yeah, there's a lot of hats there that a trained school psychologist can certainly engage in. And you had mentioned something that I want to dig a little bit deeper into when we think about mental health. You know, we are hearing a great deal of information about the need for mental health supports in our schools, not just for our students, but for our educators and our families, and really the larger community. So how can a school psychologist be present and supporting in these mental health efforts?
So we know that a lot of our school psych colleagues across the state have been tapped to be part of the reentry planning committee for our schools as we return to school from COVID-19 shutdowns. In addition, school psychologists are poised to really help connect students, families, and educators to resources, interventions, and supports during this time. Further, they can also provide remote mental health services if that's a role that they play within their LEA. They can serve on crisis response teams, and they can also assist in providing direct social and emotional learning and or behavioral supports, either through intervention or through consultation, as Drew mentioned. And then in addition, they can participate in conducting threat and risk assessments based on the local education agency's procedures.
So in thinking about really the connecting folks from students to educators to families with the supports and services and resources that they may need, you know, we have to kind of think of, and help me both out if I'm wrong here, we have to think of school psychologists not just in this isolated role in a school building, that they play a much larger role in the entire community. And their participation in our education is vital, as it does help in the education of everyone around, both academically, behaviorally, and mental health wise. Is this true?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, you know, I appreciate both of you, because it really is wonderful to be able to highlight school psychologists. And Drew, as I started the conversation off when saying, we sometimes kind of pigeonhole this individual role into something very specific, and it's certainly a facet of their work, but it's not everything that they're able to accomplish and help us with. So I thank you both for allowing us to really learn a little bit about school psychologists and the vital role that they play in our communities. Thank you both for joining PaTTANpod today.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you in the field. You are an inspiration to everyone, especially during these times. A special thank you to John Ragsdale for producing this podcast. We'll see you next time on PaTTAN Pod.